Hi, welcome. My name's Jason Cooper from Servation Mind. I'm here. We're going to be introducing over the next coming weeks some interesting people, leaders in their field, evangelists, people that inspire and motivate. So today, my very first podcast. So I'm really looking forward to it today. And I'm going to be just chatting with a really good friend of mine, Stephen Comny. I've known him for years. So today what we're going to be discussing is all things digital. So Stephen's history is he's a journalist by nature, and he's moved into the area of digital probably 11, 12, 13 years ago. I'm sure he'll tell you a little bit more about that as we discuss a little bit further. But he co-founded the Digital Times, a website which is talking about all things digital in a story format, anything's new on the market, latest apps. He's co-founded the Rabo Tweeties and the Appys, so I believe, and lots more. So over to you, Stephen, and I just want to find out a little bit more so the guests that are watching this can find out a little bit more about yourself. So tell me how you've got to where you are now and your journey all the way through.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll keep it brief. It's been quite a journey over the last 15, 20 years. I studied English literature in UCD.
Okay.
I went looking for a job, and back then there were very, very few jobs. A lot of people were going on to do postgraduates in computer science because there would be no jobs, particularly for someone coming out with an arts degree. But I managed to get a job at a small publishing company, print publishing business back then, CPG, or Computer Publications Group, and this was before, it was just around the start of what was then called the .com age.
Mm-hmm.
Showing my age when I say that. And it was the beginning of the digital revolution as we know now. But I was working in print, but I was fascinated by this, the transformative digital age that was going to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
It promised to be the be all and end all. And as I progressed in print, obviously we set up websites and we started web publishing. And, I looked at the evolution of things like Facebook, which was small.
It was about that time, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, wow, Facebook could be everything. It could be an online store. It could be a place where you rent videos. It could be anything. It was, such a platform had such potential. And then, with the advent of the iPhone and apps and all that kind of stuff, really became fascinated by how little small startups could disrupt massive industries. Around 2008, I set up Digital Times with my brother to help explain the digital world to a business owner. So a lot of SMEs who were unsure about digital transformation, unsure about digital marketing, unsure about what was to come. And that's what Digital Times was and became and evolved, and we went into loads of different things. And where am I headed now? I'm fascinated by AI, artificial intelligence, and how it's going to transform our future. It's already transforming our present. When it comes to communications, and another one of my passions, which is e-commerce or selling online. So I have a huge interest in online marketplaces, e-commerce and its potential, married with AI, and I think that's where my focus over the next couple of years is going to be.
AI, yeah, well, it's a fascinating area at the moment. It's really exciting, but it's also quite scary at the same time. What are your sort of thoughts on that? It's almost evolved so dramatically with all the likes of Watson, which is the IBM product, and then there's lots of other products out there which is machine learning. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the AI, I think, is the next great industrial revolution. And looking back even at the original industrial revolution, there's a lot of people who are frightened about the role of machines displacing humans and all that. There will be. I mean, AI is going to displace a huge amount of what we now see as jobs. There's no question about that. But I think the benefits outweigh the potential threats. What AI can do in terms of medicines, what AI can do in terms of just in terms of being able to reimagine, very complex problems that face humanity. That's where I think AI's role is going to play. AI, as does it have an element of danger? Absolutely. you know, if the robots become, you know, intelligent, they'll just keep getting more and more intelligent. And that's where the likes of Stephen Hawking and Elon Musk have kind of raised concerns on Hawking's life.
Yeah.
You know, that they will exponentially get more intelligent. So that, you know, they're obviously going to outsmart
It's
humans.
like the Terminator, isn't it? Really, it could go down that path, which is quite scary.
Absolutely. Yeah, they become self-reliant, and then they look around and say, you know, we want this all to ourselves. So, you know, that's the scary part of it. The beneficial part of it, I think the benefits will outweigh the dangers, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about AI, and I think AI is just fascinating. We could probably just do the whole thing on AI itself, which is really fascinating. What other areas are you fascinated in at the moment with all things digital? Because I know 2012 or 2013 you co-founded the Appys. You did the Appys at that particular time, and that was all exciting. So I know we're stepping back a little bit, but I'd be intrigued where you were then and where you see sort of the app technology. Maybe it is all integrating with AI as well, so we probably lead back to there. But tell me how you came up with the idea of that and where you took it from there.
Yeah, so we were approached by Des Doris from Alchemy Events, and we sat down and we discussed an award show for great app development.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, the iPhone, you know, nascent apps were the next gold rush. Huge money was going into apps of all kinds. You know, I think the figure was there was somewhere close to 1 million apps on the App Store at that time, which is minute compared to what's available now.
Yeah.
We wanted to reward great app development in different sectors, you know, everything from banking apps, gaming apps, you know, to entertainment apps. And there was great talent in Ireland at the time. And we had a great few years with the Appys and really saw some amazing innovation. And out of that app development culture, I think, came what we now have in terms of, you know, a very mature programmer ecosystem in Ireland, you know, an ecosystem that you know, cut its teeth at the bleeding edge of innovation at the time. And you know, a lot of these people are working in industry now. I think for, you know, going forward applications, web apps, mobile apps, I think you're going to see even more disruption in areas like e-commerce and areas like communication. Who would have thought TikTok would come up and kick Facebook's pants so quickly? So with apps, you know, you can see enormous uptake, huge disruption very, very quickly. This hasn't gone away. So, you know, I wouldn't discount, you know, the app ecosystem just yet. But it's fun to watch. I think as cryptocurrencies develop, and I think as e-commerce develops, I think we're going to see a lot of innovation in that space. And I think that privacy as well, being able to do your business from your mobile phone in a private and secure environment, that's, I think, going to be the next great, you know, the next great kind of area of innovation. People are becoming much more wise to how companies are using their data, how companies are gathering profiles, you know, buyer personas and things like that. In reality, they know everything about you just because of your activity on your phone, which is frightening. So
it is, yeah.
Privacy implications married with the consumer need for better safety and you know, obviously high privacy, I think that's where app development is going to come in to play.
So what fascinates you really about all of this area of digital marketing? I know you sort of briefly touched on it early on, but what really excites you about the whole thing?
Yeah, I think digital marketing is interesting because there's so many different strands to it. You know, it's by and large, there's an awful lot of bad digital marketing. But when it's done well, it can be really, really effective. I think that I look at marketing as a content play. I will be kind of more inbound. I think that knowing what consumers do now, in other words, they research products. I think that the inbound methodology is better than the outbound, where you're trying to broadcast messages to people. I think that's where content comes into play. And it's fascinating to see how so many organizations just haven't invested in great content and great UX and in content design as yet.
Mhm.
There are some big institutions like banks, for example, who got in there quite early, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But even looking around, government departments, government websites, it's amazing to see how turgid the content can still be,
Mhm.
knowing what we know about the way people search now. So I think this is where small, nimble startups can be really, really disrupt big business and steal their lunch. They can make the customer experience better,
Yep.
easier, more satisfying by employing great content and great design, great applications. And, great content, as we all know, helps customers on their buyer's journey. It's very important. Great UX keeps them engaged, coming back. Sticky applications always have
Mhm.
great ability to keep people coming back to them. So we're only at the beginning, I think, of this, how content is going to transform, certainly the way big enterprise and big business does business.
Of
And it's going,
course.
it's going to be led by the smaller guys who are going to show the way.
Well, the beauty of and I've been in the startup world for many years, as you know, but I find that the startup world is very quick to change, very quick to adapt. As the bigger ships out there, the bigger corporations, they're slightly slower to move with the times.
Yeah.
Probably what they do is they go out and buy those little startups and integrate them within the system, the ecosphere that they actually have. So what's your take on that? How do you see that? I know you've been involved in sort of the fintech area, and
Yeah.
I know you've been journaling on the content area within startups. So what's your take on that? Because I'm really excited by that area.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, for example, the likes of Revolut, which
Oh, yeah.
came, God knows when, 5 or 6 years ago. At the time, I think that was for sale for a good price, and banks looked at it, and
Yeah.
banks turned it down. They didn't see it, and what you had there was very ambitious, very how would you say, customer centric
Yeah.
application like Revolut to make
That's
banking.
really easy as well. I've only just got on the wave really of Revolut, and it's awesome, absolutely
Yeah.
awesome.
But nobody in the banking system or the banking culture would have thought that a cheeky little startup could disrupt banking so quickly
Yep,
and
and they have.
with such seemingly, such ease, or what looked like ease. And, disintermediation is what the banks are very frightened of, because, they're always the middleman. And here comes a startup, and, we're just going to give the power back into customers' hands to a certain degree. And it became more appealing, and particularly for young people. So, a lot of big traditional businesses haven't yet figured out how to meet their customers' needs online. And you're right. A lot of times, instead of changing their marketing department or overhauling their systems or whatever, they will buy in, or they will, merge with or acquire, a very smart, startup company that would solve the need that they have. So, yeah, it's the way the world. And I think what we're going to see is much more startups within that fintech space and within that AI space.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and all the other uh, variations on that type of thing, and it's just grown. And the banks probably didn't see that either. It's just like easy way to transact. They just changed that industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's consumer trust as well as merging is moving towards newer products, newer financial products. Money is a concept. Money is just based on trust. It's like money has a value one day. It may not have a value the next day. It's not necessarily dollars or euro that young people particularly regard as money anymore. Wealth can be acquired in different ways. Almost Bitcoin led the world in that regard as a cryptocurrency. But there's a huge cryptocurrency market out there at the moment, trading in that. I think, again, this is where AI is going to play its part. This is where privacy is going to play its part.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really smart app development is going to play its part. And we're going to see big disruption in the future in terms of how people buy things online, where they put their trust in terms of being consumers, and they're going to want the same kind of thing for buying a mortgage. They're going to want the same kind of thing for buying health. They want and these big industries who have had, who dominated the market for so long, these big traditional kind of companies, they're incredibly worried, I'd imagine. And it's where young, nimble, smart, customer-centric startups can eat the lunch.
Quick to adapt, quick to market, but they scale so quickly. It's
Yeah,
like
they don't have legacy issues. They don't have big clunky finance departments who have to sign off on everything. They don't have big, kind of ingrained marketing departments who are quite traditional. They fail quickly and they move on, and that's their advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. So for you, how do you see success for yourself growing and nurturing in this marketplace and seeing yourself into the future, or where do you see yourself, and what does your success look like?
Yeah, I mean, success for me is about happiness and satisfaction and interest and all those type of things. Obviously, money has to play its part, and
Of course.
I always I'm not going to do what I do into the future for free. But I think what drives me most is exciting ideas, potential,
Mm-hmm.
the ability to see around corners every now and again.
Well, that's always very difficult, though, isn't it?
It is, but again, it's when I was running, one of my first businesses, we did a little calculation. 80% of what we came up with in terms of strategy or whatever failed, but 20% brought in revenue. So it was a kind of an 80-20 mix. And once you came to kind of understand that, that out of the 100% of things that you try, 20% will work and work really well. 80% maybe not so much. So it's about focusing on the right things.
Yeah.
And if you look at strategy, if you look at kind of business strategy, what builds success for you.
Mm-hmm.
I used to initially go by gut instinct. Does it feel right? And
Yeah.
so if so, I used to follow that and figure it out as things got better or things got worse, which was, foolish.
Well, there's a great correlation between the gut and the gut feeling. As soon as you feel something in the gut, you know it's right, or you should actually trust that, as opposed to going in the head, which tells you how things are going wrong.
And if you sell that idea to somebody and they back you, that's affirmation. So strategically, that was probably the right thing to do. But now I see strategy, or there's a vast universe of successful strategy ideas. I see in three areas. One, you can do something new. You can absolutely do something new and own that market. Two, you can build on what you already do, and become better than your competitors or anyone else. And number three is you can react creatively to emerging possibilities. So they're the three kind of areas that I see.
And for you in your career at the moment, and from where you come from and where you are now, how have you dealt with the challenges there? Like, how have you dealt with some things just don't work, and how have you dealt with the failure, but beyond there and move forward?
Yeah, I think there's challenges that we face now are just extraordinary.
Yep.
Everything, the pandemic, the lockdown as well, whether these are extraordinary times, historical times, but everyone's in this together. And I think I view these challenges with a bit of a weary eye, having been to the last. And at this stage, what I do is I look at the challenges and I think, where do the opportunities lie within those challenges? Because challenges will always bring opportunities, but challenges need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And opportunities lie in the fixing of those challenges. So I think that having the time to reflect and look around personally brought me a lot of opportunities. The greatest gift I got during lockdown was time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always be grateful for that. So I think challenges, absolutely. But out of this, I can see huge innovation. Because the world needs it, people needs it, society needs it. We can't go on, we can't go back. We have to do something new, something different. We all know the challenges ahead, not just from the pandemic, but also environmental challenges, socioeconomic challenges. There's a huge amount of data coming out about how lockdown affected people in so many bad ways. We have an underlying broken condition in society. And I think that as creators, as disruptors, we're going to have almost like a golden age of disruption and innovation ahead of us, because we didn't get it right coming out of the last recession. I think we now have a very early second bite in that show.
Something that was suggested to me the other day is we've come out of the dark ages, which are the last few months where everything's been really challenged and really, really different. Now we're coming out resurgence. It's almost like a renaissance where we're coming out of this, and we've learned a lot from being stuck at home and being COVID and all that. We've been reflecting back on ourselves about what we can do and how we can sort of change things for the better within ourselves and maybe within society and everything else. So now is the time that we are coming out, and the same as probably what happened in 2097, 98, innovation is going to start pushing out again, as you just suggested. And that's what happened after 2000, that bust there with the dot-com boom and like Facebook and LinkedIn and all these companies that came out of it. And I went, bang, lots and lots of companies will come out of that. And exactly the same happened after the last recession. But this time is slightly different. So what's your take on this? What do you think is going to happen come out of this?
Yeah, I mean, what I can see is that innovation is going to have a, how would you put it, socioeconomic thinking brain plugged into it. You know, that every time somebody tries to do something new, they think about the wider implications of this. And we have a lot of knowledge now about how certain businesses can disrupt.
Yeah.
Fine, but they can also leave behind a little bit of destruction, you know. Particularly if you look at Facebook, for example, nobody knew that it would, become a platform that would be hijacked by bad actors to, sow the seeds of discontent and all kinds of stuff. Zuckerberg never thought that when he founded it. He saw it as kind of an open communication platform. So, what's going to happen in the future, I think, is people are going to have a little more, they're going to tie in ethical thinking and thinking to what they're doing. I think if they're going to resonate with a wide customer base, I think customers, people who buy things, they're going to want to see that businesses or applications or services are doing good as well as making things better. But they actually do understand we understand their moral obligations to society. Maybe I'm a bit naive in that, but from what I read and from what I see, it's always the case that these days there is, kind of a moral ask behind a lot of new innovation, and those that ignore that morality are often called out for it. So, that's the question.
You've always given some really good golden nuggets of information, and you I know you're very well read. It's just probably how you've been brought up, but every time you come up with something slightly different, every time I speak to you and every time I see you, it's like, wow, what could you give back to the younger generation coming through based on your experience? What sort of golden nugget or nuggets could you give back or feedback? Because it's all about your knowledge is there, but you want to go, bang, I want to give it to someone else so they can just go hit the ground running really quickly.
Yeah, well, if I was somebody, if I was coming out of education, I'm looking to break into an industry, whether that be marketing, communications, app development, any area, best piece of advice, and I've seen this in action, I know it works. Pick an area, and become the leading high-profile expert in that area. So say for example, you're in marketing. You could be interested in social media marketing, for example. Become the expert in that area. What if it's data analytics? Become the expert in that area. Write about it. Do some original research, maybe publish the findings, distribute them to your peer group. Get on LinkedIn. You seem to be adding value to your profession. If your peers see that, their bosses see that. Analyze great campaigns by other brands, maybe. Create interesting content. Show people you know what you're talking about. Show people you know what you're talking about. Become the face for that. You don't have to do it in a boastful way or an aggressive way. Do it in a helpful way. Do it in a creative way. Maybe with a sense of humor attached to it or whatever. But I've seen so many people who were young whippersnappers back in the day, and this is how they rose to prominence. This is how they became the creative directors, the directors of data analytics. This is how they rose to the top within bigger organizations. they were confident enough to become an expert in the area that they love most. And this kind of public profile building will serve you well in the future. So own the area that interests you the most.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. I really like that. Just the last question, and make it a bit of fun. So if money wasn't any object to you, what would you do? What would you become? What would you design? What would you inspire to be? Or what would you invest in? Or what would you do with that?
Yeah, build a better mousetrap. If I didn't have money concerns,
Yeah.
if I was rich and idle, I'd start a food and travel blog. Travel around Ireland and Europe and maybe the world, exploring and writing about great small producers. And then I'd stick an e-commerce engine on my website, and so people would be allowed to, buy the produce I've just tasted.
Oh, good.
That would give something back to the smaller producer. I wouldn't need the money, be doing some good. Because something like this wouldn't make much money, but it'd be great for producers and great for myself. So why not? But yeah, my passion, two passions: travel, food, and yourself. Imagine getting the opportunity to cycle around Provence.
Yeah, get a decent bike as well.
Yeah, writing about great wine producers and great food producers, and then putting a link to their products on your website and doing some good that way. Do it only for a few years because the old waste would expand too rapidly.
Well, if you're cycling around, it wouldn't be so bad unless you get an electric bike, and then you can just cruise around.
Electric bike, Jason's. We're not that old.
No. I suppose we can still burn off the calories. Well, it'd be nice to think that we can still burn off the calories. So, Stephen, how can we find you? How can everyone find you? And obviously, LinkedIn is a good place.
Stephen Comny and Twitter, Digital Times. So that's it. And happy to talk to anybody if they want to discuss anything we've discussed here any further. Always happy to have a quick chat or back in the day meet for a coffee. I was a firm believer back in the day of meeting people for a coffee.
Face to face.
Face to face, it was huge. Or a pint on a Thursday or something like that. But yeah, it's a strange world we're living in now. But social distance coffee, walking around Stephen's Green or something, why not? So yeah.
Or failing that, for the international audience, virtual coffee, like a Zoom coffee or whatever platform they're on, and have a coffee and just discuss stuff. And I've been doing a little bit of that recently, and it's really good. Like chat to an international audience in the US or New Zealand or Australia or wherever. Some people that you wouldn't normally speak to, which is really expanded my network, but also expanded to speaking to some really nice people. And people are really, really there to help you. So that's what I found over the last 3 months. People are really wanting to help you.
I think particularly now, I think one of the interesting things that came out of the pandemic and lockdown is the innate, desire of people to give.
Yeah.
That kind of, moral ethos, whatever you want to call it, moral framework that people have.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of people, myself included, very happy to share any knowledge that I may have. Very happy to discuss something or brainstorm something.
Yeah.
It's a great experience for everybody involved. It's not that you give up on yourself. And there's another piece of advice: never be afraid to ask somebody, no matter how high up you think they are or how unreachable you think they are. Never be afraid to reach out. Drop them an honest question, and I'm guarantee you nearly every time they'll give you back an honest answer.
Yeah, I've been finding that out recently, and it's just been really good. So that's what sort of inspired me to do this. A friend of mine has been pushing me to do this for a while, and I'm going to love this. And it's also going to be quite addictive as well, speaking to all these wonderful people. So you're the first. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
and we'll catch up for a pint soon.
Sorry, thanks for having me on, Jason, and well done. It's a great setup.
Excellent. Appreciate that. We'll speak soon.
Okay, take care.